What's up, nerds? I'm Wes.
I'm Tom.
When Gambling Games thought, I wonder if we can create a tiny epic dinosaurs. They were so concerned with whether or not they could, they didn't think about if they should.
These aren't animals that went away because of deforestation or a dam. That nature selected them for extinction.
So we actually did cover this game back when it was on Kickstarter, but that was just the prototype version. And now we have the real-life production version in front of us, and we're going to take a look at it.
It's a pretty straightforward worker placement game. Placing your workers out there to gain resources and to gain dinosaurs and to build your pens for your dinosaurs on this little card. Now, some of the big staple games that a lot of staples the right word. Some of the big staple games that a lot of people always say that these are some of the first big games you learn. I actually still have yet to play. Now that list, for a while that list was pretty embarrassing, but now it's been going down. I still though haven't played Agricola or Caverna. Or Concordia, So again, that list used to be a lot longer, but Wes still hasn't played Scythe, so.
But it is, and I think it's Agricola where you are doing that similar, building pens to put animals in, and that's one of the big things that makes it not just a worker placement game, and that you have your area here and you're collecting resources off of it, but if you pen it, and you start putting dinosaurs in your pen, you're not you cover up those resources because you can't farm that land anymore. But that's a really big crux of the game is building a pen to put a dinosaur in, because you can't have two different kinds of dinosaurs in the same pen, and if the pen isn't closed off, your dinosaurs will escape, and if they escape, they'll break things, or they'll just go eat your other dinosaurs. But if you have too many dinosaurs in the same pen, then they're going to start breeding, and you run out of room for them, and then they start breaking down the fences and eating each other anyway.
Life finds a way.
So that's I think that's the big challenge of this game is balancing, you have a very small area to put, a very small amount of squares to put your dinosaurs in, but you do want to have a decent amount of dinosaurs, and then you also have to have the resources to feed the dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you're familiar with worker placement games, we basically just explained it to you. It's super straightforward in that way. But there's a little bit more than just getting dinosaurs here to complete either your private goals or the public goals. There's also these mutated things here, so there's a little bit more specialties things. And this is a pretty big deck, so there's a decent amount. But that's the main ways you get points. There's points in here, and there's points in the private and public goals, and that's pretty much it. And there's actually not a lot of luck. I know there is a die in the game, and with, cards and stuff. But it's really pretty minor, the luck is. When you roll this die, there's only one side that's really all that bad, and it's only 50% of the time maybe it'll be bad, maybe because it's so 50% of the die is you just straight up get the dinosaur. 2 of them is you have to go to the infirmary, which really isn't that big of a deal, and then one of the sides is an egg. Maybe you get 2 dinosaurs, which maybe you wanted 2 dinosaurs, but if you can't feed them or house whatever, them, then it could be bad. But overall, I remember at first, whenever I see a die in this, come to this place to see if you get to do this thing. I was but in practice, it's actually
there is no dinosaur escaped. If there was a dinosaur escaped, I spent my whole turn to go there, and then the dinosaur escaped, that would be well, I just lucked out of this game because I kept not catching them, and you kept catching them.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was worried about, but no.
So as far as mechanically and gameplay, it's a balanced game. It's pretty straightforward. It works really well. It can be pretty tight because, again, the goals up here of the dinosaurs to get, you have to make sure that you can collect that many and house them. But if you need 2 of something, they're gonna breed. So then you have to be careful of well, I don't want these to breed because I don't have space for even more of them. So you're trying to get dinosaurs, but then get rid of them as soon as possible. Because I guess thematically you're not building the Jurassic Park here. You're out catching the dinosaurs and selling them to the park.
It's also a relatively low scoring game. I mean, you're not gonna. It takes a decent amount of steps to get to complete contracts and stuff, right? Especially because your private contract, you have to complete it when you complete a public contract. So you really have to set yourself up a whole bunch. So I guess a decent amount of pre-planning there. And it's a short game with only 6 rounds. So I guess that could be a complaint for some people that, it's too, I didn't get to do a lot, in the 6 rounds, I only got 2 or 3 contracts completed. I actually, I overall liked this game. It's kind of in the middle for me. It was good. It was decent. You know, I enjoyed a decent amount of the mechanics. You know, a lot of things kind of worked for me. I think just this spatial aspect, I just didn't really care about it.
Yeah, and that's my biggest negative. Isn't a problem with the game. It's that this like building a pen to house dinosaurs and that just doesn't do it for me.
It's just not our cup of tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not bad. I would, you know, it's like a 6-ish for me. I mean, in terms of the tiny epics though, it's kind of in the middle because there are tiny epics that I definitely like less. I you know, tactics and mechs are kind of on the bottom for me. But, you know, I mean, this is nowhere near as good as West, which is also worker placement.
Or Pirates, which isn't out yet, but I got to play the prototype, and it might be my new favorite.
It's so far, it's the only one I still have yet to play. Galaxies is just like classic. This doesn't hit that classic thing.
No. And I think that one of the things with the Tiny Epic line in general is that in order to make it all small, you have to drop some of the complexity. And they bring it back in a lot of the Tiny Epics that they've expanded. They bring back some of the complexity. But with a lot of this, it's like we're going to take this concept and strip it down so that we can do it with as few components as possible. Which is, again, it's not a bad thing, but it does make this a simpler game.
So, my history with the Tiny Epic line. I always like the Tiny Epic games. Like, mechanically, again, I like some more than others, but mechanically, they're always pretty good games.
Scott Alms makes good games.
Right, right. My problem with the series is always the tiny part. Like, I get it. Some people love that idea. They want it to be travel size, blah, 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 or whatever, right? I'm always just kind of like, that not only does that not do anything for me, it does kind of detract a little bit because, you know, like it increases the spill factor. We have these teeny tiny little boop, and I'm trying to go, and a lot of the times for me, it just seems like a gimmick, and it's tiny for the sake of being tiny. Like, the reason why we made all these components this size is so they can fit into this box. We made the box first, and then said it needs to fit in this box, so now everything else is going to be tiny. Look at these cards, and read the text on these cards. It's super tiny. There's a lot of information on this card, so just really squint down. And again, like, it's like, because you already chose the box size is why all this stuff is the tininess. And a lot of times I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. This one in particular, though, feels extra tiny.
I do feel like they were trying to be like, hey, how small can we make these dinosaurs? Where other games felt like, how big can we make it and still have it fit in the box? Mm-hmm. This felt like, how small can we make it and like the machines can still make these wooden cutouts because they're really small.
Yeah, I mean, on either end of the spectrum, I agree. Like, I don't need a huge Cthulhu mini that's this big, nor do I need something that, you know, can fit on my pinky. I do think this one, for me, it almost hits the level of being, like, egregious. Just like, oh my gosh, it's so... Like, especially, like, I was like, wait, I want to put everything back in the box. And we opened it up, and I was, like, moving around. I'm like, I can get my whole hand in here. There's room. There's room in there. You know, it's just how I feel about the tiny part of the Tiny Epic games. And again, I know some people love it.
And that may not be a problem for you at all. You may
Right.
love the fact that it's tiny. You may think these little teeny dinosaurs are adorable, and that's part of what attracts you to the game.
Clearly I'm in the minority because they re-release games that go even tinier. So maybe I'm wrong, and everybody's like, no, Tom, you don't understand how important it is for me to be able to save shelf space or whatever. Okay, sure. But if they also have the giant line with Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, I would love to see a medium line where can you just make regular size games, people?
But again, at the end of the day, like, all the Tiny Epic games I have enjoyed playing. I'm going to enjoy playing this one again. So if you are looking for the next Tiny Epic game in your collection, or maybe the first Tiny Epic game in your collection, we will have a purchase link underneath the like button down below where you can pick up a copy of Tiny Epic Dinosaurs. If I find it, I'll even include a link to this awesome playmat, which, not that this is one of the games where the playmat is necessary, but it is still really helpful to keep you organized, have a place to put everything.
It reminds you the numbers of stuff.
It looks better, and if you don't have an awesome game topper that comes with playmats that you can swap out, it gives you a playmat to put your cards on, which really does make the game, like, playing the game more pleasurable.
Oh wow, Wes, that Game Topper sounds so super awesome. I've got money in my hand right now. I'm ready to buy it immediately. How do I buy it though? I don't know. Well, don't worry guys. Go to the link in the description box down below. There's links for everything, including Game Toppers. Also, if you don't own any Tiny Epics, I'd say start with Galaxies. But anyways, subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored.